It is always great chatting with my next guest. John Castaneda is going to be back in action. UFC Fight Night, October 1st. It's right around the corner here. John, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, James. Thanks a lot for having me.
No problem. Got to mention the obvious here before we get started. You got the mustache going. What's up with that?
Got the mustache. I just started growing it this morning, actually. So, it's already taken into full effect. No, there's really nothing about it. This is the longest I've ever had any facial hair. So I started growing it maybe like 4 weeks ago, and I was like, man, I kind of like this. It makes me look a little bit older, a little seasoned. So I'm in my prime. You know what I mean? I'm 30 years old now, so I got to look the part.
Yeah, no, that's good. Well, hey, does the wife like it? That's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, then you're good. You're in the clear, man. You can do whatever you want as long as the wife's happy. That all makes sense. We haven't seen you in a while. We're talking about a fight here in October. You fought last in February. I'm guessing it was injuries. What's been the reason you've been out so long?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, it was a little bit of an injury issue right after February, but then it was just kind of a waiting game. We had a couple possible opportunities in July, but nothing ever came to fruition. So it's just the name of the game. Sometimes you just got to you got to sit on the sidelines for a little bit. But I'm really happy to squeeze in a second one and hopefully a third one here by the end of the year. This after this fight, it's October 1st. We still have a good 3 months, solid months before the end of the year. So if I can squeeze in one more, there's a card in December, right the day before my birthday. So we're just, obviously we got to take care of business here October 1st. But yeah.
It's kind of weird. I mean, how challenging has that been? I know you'd like to be more active. There's just been obviously a variety of circumstances, but how do you deal with that? I guess it's just, sharpen the iron in the gym, so to speak, because I know you want to fight more than you have been.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, just staying consistent in the gym and being disciplined. I think honestly, the last 2 years, I've only fought one time, right? So I fought in February of 2021, or I'm sorry, July of 2021, February of this year, and then I'm really happy that I'm able to squeeze in, like I said, another one this year. So this is fine for me. Like I said, it hasn't been too long to the point where I've kind of like I took no time off. I took maybe 2-3 weeks off, and by time off, I just mean slowing down my training, not going as rigorous, and as the length of the training is a lot shorter. I'm still in there. I'm repping it out. But we're staying disciplined, we're staying consistent. So, obviously the end of the goal is to consistently get better. And obviously being sidelined is just that.
We got to remind people your last fight, that was a big win. Miles Johns had never been submitted. You went out there, you did it. Just how satisfying was that victory, especially with the record that Miles had going into that fight?
It's good. It was a good win. I think that's kind of exactly how I anticipated that fight going. Stylistically, I know that he's a very, very pressure. I'm sorry, not pressure. He's a power striker. He's got a lot of knockout power. But I knew that I could kind of beat him at his game by being the pressure fighter. Now it's a completely different, avenue with the guy that I'm currently fighting. Is Daniel Santos. He's completely different from Miles. Miles was a little bit more hesitant on his striking and a little bit of a bigger bantamweight, so his output wasn't all that much there. Whereas opposed to Daniel is straight 15 minutes of coming forward and 15 minutes of output. So it's a completely different fight for sure.
How much will experience play into this fight? He's only got 11 fights. You've got, I think, what, 24, if my math's correct. You got a lot more fights than he does. How much is that going to play into the fight?
I think it's going to play a big factor. I don't even think that, when I look at his record and did a little research on him, yeah, he's got 11 fights, but he doesn't really have a lot of cage time. He's a lot of those 11 fights are against guys who are inexperienced themselves. That doesn't mean that Daniel's not good. I think Daniel is a very, very solid competitor. He's going to be one of my toughest matchups stylistically to date. But in terms of the actual experience in the cage, it's not only, I have double the amount of fights, I just have a lot more ring time than him, and I think that that's for sure going to be a big factor. I think that I'm going to be the bigger bantamweight. And I think that, coming forward on a guy like me, I'm gonna find his chin one way or another, and I'm gonna find it early, and then it's gonna kind of nullify his style right off the bat. And I plan to attack just like I did in the Miles fight. So it's gonna be two guys looking for position and looking for center of the octagon control. It's gonna make for a good fight.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to it. You were telling me off air, and this is something we talked about before, that you train with a lot of up and comers who've been some of the main guys. Maybe a glimpse into the future of who we'll be seeing in the UFC soon.
My one of my main training partners, I guess two of my main training partners are Sean McPadden and Quang Lee. Quang Lee is an undefeated guy. He's 5-0, 5-0 professionally. He's a little bit younger than I am. I think he's like a year younger than I am, but he's up in the ranks. You know what I mean? He's doing all the right things. I think we've talked about this in the past. There's only a few guys in that gym that are there more than I am and more consistent than I am, and he's definitely one of them. Quang Lee, he's definitely one of my guys. And then Sean McPadden, he actually just fought this past weekend for LFA here in Minnesota. He's a 6-1 professional guy, crafty striker, just a force to be reckoned with. And I think he's having a really fast turnaround. He's with my sports agency as well, Iridium Sports.
Oh, cool.
It's a quick turnaround for him. I think he's fighting in the first few weeks of October as well. And to my knowledge, I mean, this is it. Like, this is, he wins this, he's in the big show. So, I got guys there that are right there with me, and these guys are young, they're hungry, and I love having that energy around me,
Yeah, and getting that variety too. Like, you're getting different styles, different guys. I mean, that's one benefit to having up and comers like that. You're not only getting the variety, but you're getting guys that need to prove themselves. So they're going to give you that push, right?
Absolutely. And another one of my biggest training partners is his name is Joseph Dashu. He's actually he doesn't actually compete in mixed martial arts, but he's a national team member of the Greco-Roman wrestling.
Oh, cool.
Canada. So he just made the national team over there, and he's one of my best buddies, out of training, but we go in there, and he's really helped me out this camp with my wrestling and my my Greco wrestling and just my regular wrestling as well, my folk style and freestyle and all that stuff. And I think that's going to be also a big factor playing into this fight as well. Daniel Santos is a crafty striker, and to nullify that, I want to be able to implement my wrestling, and I think that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Speaking of training partners and fighters from Minnesota, did you happen to read that story on Cole Conrad that came out a few weeks ago? Remember him, the former Bellator champion?
Absolutely. Yeah. I know Cole Conrad. I remember Cole Conrad being in Bellator and him, basically walking away from the sport right after.
At the highest level, he was undefeated. Like, he was thought as like one of the best prospects out there.
Oh, I didn't read the story. What happened with him?
Well, no. So the story was just a follow-up, basically asking why he left. And like, I guess he's just put all that behind him, and he's just, he's doing his thing, and he has a regular day job. But it's just so fascinating that a guy that talented just decides, I'm done. I don't even care about MMA. I'm going to go do my own thing. And it was just Sean Al-Shadi who wrote the story. I'll send you the link after on Instagram, but he did a whole long feature on an MMA fighting. It was just brilliantly done. Like, Sean is the man when it comes to writing that type of stuff. And I found it very interesting as someone who used to watch Bellator back then when they used to do the tournaments. And I remember Cole winning and being like, wow, like what a crazy, because like, your MMA retirements, guys are back in. Marlon Moraes just retired a couple months ago. Now he's fighting for PFL. I know with Cole, he's like, I'm done. And he hasn't looked back. It's been pretty incredible.
No, absolutely. And I think, I mean, from my understanding, I remember back in the day thinking the same exact thing. Like, why is this man, this guy is so young. He's in his prime. He just won that big tournament. Remind me again, is that 100,000 or $1 million back then?
Oh, I think it was only 100,000. I think back then.
So still, but I mean, I do remember thinking to myself, like, okay, I read somewhere that he was just really focused on his family. He had a kid either recently or it was about to have one on the way. So, he was just a family man and he wanted to focus on that, I think, is what I read back in the day. And then I was like, okay, I can vibe with that. You know what I mean? Man's a family man, doesn't want to hurt himself or get his wife, nervous or whatever it might be, so yeah. It's all respectable, but yeah, super crazy how he just was able to walk away without turning back. Unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to check out the story. I think you, as someone who's from Minnesota, you'd really, and who knows him would kind of appreciate that as well. How's the weight cut going? I got to ask, obviously you've been off for a bit, everything A-okay?
Yeah. Everything's okay. I'm right where I should be. I'm usually, I have my, I have every single camp. I have a single calendar of my weights and what I'm eating and stuff like that. I'm pretty strategic with it all, and I'm right where I should be. So it's going to be just as easy as it, or not easy, I shouldn't say, but it's going to be regular old weight cut. Yeah,
everything's on schedule is the main thing. I'm sure Greg Nelson will be in your corner. Who else is going to be in the cage with you that night?
Yep, Greg Nelson, my striking coach, Nathaniel McIntyre. Basically Greg Nelson's right-hand man. And then my wrestling coach and one of my good friends, Joseph Deshu. So
awesome. Love it. Love it. And how's this fight playing out on October 1st? How do you see it going down?
Finish within the first 2 rounds. Absolutely. Like I said, Daniels he's a tough guy. Absolutely. He's a tough guy. And he's going to want to press forward. He's those shootbox guys, they're very aggressive. You know what I mean? And I'm going to find that chin one way or another. I'm going to find that chin. And then it's, I was able to watch a lot of his fights, and I know that Arce was able to find that chin as well, but in his previous fight, but he didn't really sense any urgency when he hurt him, and if there's one thing I know is when someone's hurt, and I like to pounce, so if I find that I hurt him right away, it's going to be over.
I was trying to remember, do you have a couple more fights left in your contract? I was trying to remember after the last one.
My last fight is my last fight on the contract, and I have yet to see another contract. So in my opinion, in my eyes, I'm basically fighting for a spot. You know what I mean? So
right. So a lot going into this fight. I mean, you get another win here. That's got to look good when you go back to the negotiating table.
Absolutely. 3 wins in a row, depending on how I win. Let's say I win any sort of finish. I got 3 wins in a row, 3 finishes in a row. Absolutely. It'll do me good for negotiating. But like I said, we got to take care of business first. There's definitely a lot riding on it, but mentally I've been here before. I feel like I've been through so much, man, in my life, in my career, and I feel like I'm mentally tough, and this is just another step. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be a John Castaneda camp/fight if there wasn't some sort of adversity, so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes sense. And just so we're clear, I mean, the plan would be to re-sign with the UFC. I see you're wearing the Combate shirt, just making sure there's no conspiracy theories.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I just actually happen to wear this shirt after training.
You used to fight for them, in case people don't know, so yeah.
Fight for this Latin promotion, Combate Americas. But no, absolutely, my full intention to re-sign with the UFC. Absolutely.
Gotcha. Downtime, what's that looking like? Watching any TV shows? Anything interesting you're doing outside of training?
You know what? Just about to hop onto the war zone right now, actually.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
We're chilling. Yep.
That's good. Well,
I'm reading this book right now.
Let's check it out.
It's called Mating in Captivity. So
cool.
A little bit. I'm just reading a little bit, and I'm trying to just the last couple of weeks, last 2 weeks of the fight, 2 weeks of camp, I guess I should say. Your brain's everywhere. So I like to just kind of stay stimulated and stay busy when I'm not training. I already trained 3.5 hours this morning. I got a little downtime right now until about 7 p.m. until I go back to train again. So I'm just, trying to stay busy and trying not to let my thoughts consume my mind. So
for sure. And making time for interviews, John. I really appreciate it, man. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, brother.
No problem. Where can people find you on social media? And if you got any sponsors or shout outs, anything like that, I'll give you the last word.
Absolutely. Just John Castaneda _, or Sexy Mexi _135 on Twitter. You guys can find me, training at the Academy, the Minnesota Martial Arts Academy. I've always been a big proponent of my gym. Been with them since day one, and my head coaches, Greg Nelson and Nat McIntyre, keeping the doors open for that place and for myself. It's been an honor.